from Country News. We want to thank you for subscribing. We value it very much.
In Country News, Willie Nelson. Did you know that Willie Nelson was born on April 29, 1933, in Abbott, Texas, United States? The son of Merle and Ira D. Nelson, Willie and his older sister, Bobby, were raised by their paternal grandparents during the Great Depression. With their grandparents, Willie and Bobby attended their town's small Methodist church, where they received their earliest exposure to music. Their loving grandparents had a musical background, and Nelson has described them as dedicated musical teachers. They encouraged Willie and his sister to play and learn, going so far as to order musical books from Chicago. Nelson got his first guitar at the age of 6, mere months prior to the death of his beloved grandfather, and he began writing his own poetry and early musical compositions shortly thereafter. His famous gospel song, Family Bible, draws from his early exposure to religious music. He sold the song to his friend Paul Buskirk, a guitar teacher, for $50 in 1959. Though family and faith were and remain top priorities for Nelson, in his 2015 memoir It's a Long Story, My Life, the self-described guitar picker recalls that church did not calm my restless and rambunctious soul. Mama Nelson had to tether toddler Willie to a pole in the yard to keep him from wandering off. Don't know where I'd have gone if I could have, but I had the itch early on, the itch to look beyond the end of the road. A few years later, he started playing his first professional gigs with a local polka band, a job at odds with his Christian upbringing. I was 10, a member in good standing of the Methodist Church and a devoted grandson, Nelson writes. At the same time, when I was invited to play music in a beer joint, I said to hell with all the objections raised by the Bible thumpers. In 1947, Nelson joined the gospel group Bud Fletcher and the Texans, which already featured Bobby on piano. He continued to attend school and lettered in numerous sports. The band played the local club circuit for the next few years, and Bobby and Bud Fletcher married. It was during this time Nelson first appeared on local radio. Nelson moved around over the next few years, regularly playing gigs at local clubs and honing his songwriting craft. It was during this period that Nelson penned some of his finest early work, including Nightlife, Crazy, and Funny How Time Slips Away. In 1960, Nelson settled in the country music capital of Nashville, Tennessee, where he found a job as a songwriter for Pamper Music, earning a salary of around $50 a week. The following year, two of Nelson's creations became hits for other artists. Faron Young's version of Hello Walls reached #1 on the country charts and sold 2 million copies. Patsy Cline's legendary rendition of Crazy became a top 10 hit on both country and pop. 2 years later, Ray Price's recording of his Nightlife was also a top 40 country hit. In 1952, Nelson married for the first time to Martha Matthews, with whom he had 3 children, Lana, Susie, and Billy, before they split up a decade later. He followed by marrying singer Shirley Colley in 1963 and then Connie Kepke in 1971, with whom he had daughters Paula and Amy. Nelson became involved with Anne-Marie D'Angelo, Annie, after they met on the set of the TV movie Stagecoach. By then I was separated from Connie, who, like Martha and Shirley before her, had tried their level best to put up with me. No easy task, Nelson writes of marital life in It's a Long Story. My years with Connie were not noted for fidelity on my part. I don't say that to be prideful. I say it to be truthful. Nelson and Connie divorced in 1988, and he married D'Angelo in 1991. They have 2 sons, Lucas and Jacob Micah, and live in a sustainable solar-powered community in Hawaii, on the island of Maui. It's love that brought Annie and me together, and it's love that, nearly 30 years later, has kept us together, Nelson wrote in 2015 of his 4th marriage. When it comes to romantic relationships, that's a record for me. Took me damn near a lifetime to get it right. Thanks so much, Willie, for your contribution to country music.